I'm Davie.
I'm Misty.
BDM
Unscripted.
Unedited.
Unapologetic.
Let's get it. What's going on, everybody? I am Davie.
I'm Misty.
And welcome to another episode of DM Watts podcast. You guys know what it is. Where we are unapologetic. Unapologetic.
Unapologetic?
Yeah.
Are you unapologetic?
You know, that's how yeah, I'm apologetic. You know what I'm saying? That was my
and
slang.
unedited.
Yeah.
Or I would have taken that out.
Well, obviously unscripted.
Yeah.
But as we always say, let's get it. So you guys can find us at dmwatchpodcast.com. You can find us on all the streaming services. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. But if you're watching us on, if you're not watching on YouTube, thanks for listening to us on the streaming services. As always, Doge, AMC, and oh boy, we gotta say it.
Sheba was doing it again
Sheba
today.
did his thing. Sheba did his thing. I'm gonna tell y'all. See, when you're listening to us, or you're listening to us the next day. So today, Sheba
did another run.
It did another run.
And I'm gonna make a prediction. I never make predictions.
She don't. Not when it comes to this cryptocurrency stuff.
I was working on some stuff today. Sorry, he just threw the puzzle ball, and I was like expecting it to like run into the furniture.
Nah.
So
what's your prediction?
My prediction is in 8 days it'll kill another zero.
Because we're at what?
Four
zeros right
yeah.
now. So that means 0, 0, 0. I think
days.
1. We're at 0, 0, 0, 0,
Yeah.
1. So she's saying in 8 days we'll be at 0, 0, 0. Okay, well, hopefully she's right.
Love you.
But it's time for our fun fact.
Okay, our Halloween fun fact.
So
because we're committed to bringing you fun Halloween facts.
Misty is going to read the fun fact today. I had the one yesterday.
You did.
So yeah, these are crazy ones too. Let me tell y'all, these fun facts are funny.
Okay,
what you got, baby?
Trick or treating has existed since medieval times.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, it was known as guising in Scotland and Ireland.
Okay.
Young people dressed up in costumes and went door to door looking for food or money in exchange for songs, poems, or other tricks. Today, the tradition has morphed into children getting dressed up and asking for candy. Hardly anyone performs for their candy these days.
Yeah.
But, you know, we give a simple thank you.
Yep.
But now, like, because we have this wild idea that we're going to go trick-or-treating with our neighbors and our grandbaby and one of our sons.
Yeah.
And so I think we should do that.
Yeah.
As an adult, I want candy too. What do I?
Well, if they don't say treat or nothing, they just
I don't know. If I'm dressed like a pirate with pink hair and I go up and go, I'll give you a trick for a treat. I don't think it's gonna come over very well. Just saying. And people might get the wrong idea about me.
Yeah, whatever worked for them. That's on them. But there's a Halloween fun fact for today, guys.
You got nothing.
Yeah, it's a Halloween fun
You
fact
got
for today.
nothing.
But all right, so it's gonna be my turn to pick from the fishbowl. It's my favorite part. I love picking from the fishbowl. So
It's the fishbowl of
the fishbowl.
anxiety.
Yep. Only to her.
The topic.
Only her is the fishbowl.
Cereal.
Is it cereal? You think that's cereal?
Oh.
Why not? No cereal this time. So the fishbowl topic today is called being raised in the church. Being raised in the church. So me and my hands are ashy to the mug. I wash my hands and apparently put no lotion on. I hope y'all ain't see that on YouTube. I'm sorry.
You were really working hard today.
My hands was ashy as hell.
You were working hard.
I just rubbed my hands
manly things.
I just rubbed my hands together. I thought I was gonna start a fire for a second.
I saw some smoke. Just saying.
Keep my hands out of this camera. Anyway, so being raised in the whatever. So being raised in the church. So we were both raised in the church.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we both got some stories. So
yeah.
This one hits a little harder. I ain't gonna say harder for me. It just hits hard for me because true story. After I left home, I never went to church again. True story.
Happens.
After I left home, I never went to church again. I'm only telling you my experience. And in my experience, I was like, no. To me, church was filled with probably the biggest bunch of hypocrites out there, in my opinion. Am I saying it's like that in every church?
No.
Not saying that. So please listen to what I'm saying.
But you can understand why our generation, why church numbers are declining. And it's because he and I were raised strict in the church and we saw everything. Yeah. And we're not the only ones out there in our generation that saw that. We're like, no. And so, you know, I was raised, you know, the Christian, Seventh-day Adventist, you know what I mean? And in that religion, you know, they believe the Sabbath is, you know, Saturday, but they believe it starts Friday night and it ends Saturday night. So within that, in that Friday night, so Friday night until Saturday night, you're literally not allowed to do nothing. Like literally, unless you going to church and sitting down and talking about Jesus. Well, that's the gist of it. That was hard, obviously. Even being a teenager, that rules out sports. That rules out school dances.
I couldn't go to school dances. I couldn't play in sports because of religion. It was hard to maintain a job.
Sure.
Because Friday and Saturday. Well, I mean Saturday night.
Saturday day.
But even then, especially a summer job though, because Saturday night is the sun don't set till like 8 or 9. It's like you're not going to come in at 8 or 9 o'clock.
No.
You know what I'm saying? The store's closing around that time. So it's really hard to keep a job. I had one job, and my paychecks were jokes back then. However, all of us are.
All of our paychecks were jokes.
That's when the minimum wage was like $5. So it was like $5 change, but yeah, whatever. But no, seriously, you know, so mine made it hard, then impossible to do anything. We couldn't watch cartoons. Saturday cartoons.
Okay, so this is where you and I overlap. I was raised strict Pentecostal Assembly of God. Okay, both. It was like hodgepodge. Excuse me. We're back to the podcast because Misty's coughing. So there were certain cartoons I couldn't watch, and I would sneak them in and get addled if I was caught. The Littles. Being one of the number one. Smurfs was on attack, but it was still safe. But the Littles, they were little demons.
I need y'all to know that
they're like a mouse, like an apocalyptic mouse hybrid human.
Y'all need to know this has traumatized my wife because I've heard this story numerous times. I was like, man, this really messed you up.
Well, that's the thing, though. That's what, you know.
She loved that show.
I love the Littles.
Yeah, she loved that show.
Damn it.
Yeah, so.
But no, and we were, I mean, you know, we couldn't listen to certain music, even though we did. And I remember having to like break records, and the Joan Jett record wouldn't break. And it made me happy because I loved that song. Yeah. I love rock and roll. And another one, Bites the Dust, wouldn't break.
Oh, wow. Yeah, there you go. And then, you know, so.
And we were at church 3 times a day, just like we had, or 3 times a week.
Because there was church, there's choir rehearsal on Friday night. This was my thing. Choir practice on Friday night. And then Saturday was church. And then Wednesday, I want to say was like worship service or something like that. Prayer meeting or whatever.
We cleaned the church.
Yes. And then Sundays, I think it was 2 times a week. Sundays, we fed the homeless.
Oh wow!
So you was cool. Sundays you fed the homeless. So
so we went Wednesday to Wednesday. I want to say Wednesday was Bible study. Monday was cleaning.
That's what
Sunday
it was.
It was
called
service.
Bible study. Wednesday was Bible study. Yeah, and so, but yeah, I mean, but it can scorn you as a kid. As a kid, you're like, I'm not following this when I get older. This is not happening. Like, I can't watch Power Rangers on Saturday. What's wrong with y'all? Like, I don't understand.
I'm a kid. I'm supposed to.
You think I'm not traumatized? We got Disney Plus, and I saw the Amazing Spider-Man that used to come on Saturdays when I was young. They got all of them. I sat here all day and watched every episode of the Spider-Man that used to come on when I was younger because I wasn't able to do it.
Yeah.
Wasn't able to do it. So, you know, and then, you know, there was just things that it just seemed way more strict because, you know, if you look at the 10 Commandments, they say, hey, remember the Sabbath day. And then it talks about how, you know, you shouldn't do any work on that day. You, your son, anybody who works for you, all that. But what is work? Is watching cartoons work? I'm relaxing, if anything. Going to a dance, that's work. No, I'm having a time of my life.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? And like I said the other night, you know, so then if you're, you know, you work all week, right? And then you only have Saturday and Sunday off. Let's say you have a 9-to-5 office job. You only have Saturday and Sunday off. When do you clean? When do you do house repairs? When do you do those things. You do them.
Yeah.
It ends up having to be done on the Sabbath. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like you only have that day to do it.
But this is why I said it was hypocrites, though. So you guys make exceptions. Like this is why, as I look back to that religion, I'm like, man, there's so many unanswered questions. You know, growing up in the church, it was like, wait a minute, but he can get a page because he's a doctor and go perform surgery. So you're saying there's exceptions. Doesn't say there are exceptions in the Bible. So it, you know what I'm saying? It does. Obviously, the Bible doesn't say you can't watch TV, but it says you can't do any work. You understand what I'm saying? And so,
I wouldn't have been able to adhere to that. Like I would not have been able to. No, because I was already the why person, like our grandbaby. Why? And
it used to suck though, being at home, seeing our friends outside playing basketball, and we had to stay in the house because we weren't allowed to do that Friday and Saturday night. So and growing up, that's around the time that we played though. It's like Friday, you know.
And
that was our fun time.
I'm going to throw out this disclaimer though. It is nice knowing we have a foundation. Right. But then the hard part about it is when you realize what you were taught, whatever sect, whatever part you were taught, and you look back and it's like, but
that doesn't make sense.
They were sinning.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
But I was meant to, you know, believe I was going to hell for everything.
Oh Lord.
I didn't think I would see my 18th birthday because according to my grandmother, the Lord will the Lord was going to come back. And then I saw a Jackie Gleason movie and it changed my life. And he was didn't really believe in God. His wife did. She'd take the kids to church. He was just laying on the hammock having a beer and, you know, having a great old time. Took a nap. Woke up to horrible explosions and embers falling on him. And she had just told him, like, you know, I hope you make it through the rapture. And all this is going on. And he drops to his knees, starts begging God to take him because he just knows it's the rapture. And his friend comes running into his backyard and he says, hey, do you see what's happening? He's like, get on your knees and start praying. And he's like, no, the fireworks factory is blown up. I was 18. I don't know the name of the movie. I was 18 when I saw it, and I started laughing and crying at the same time because I was so scared to death that I wasn't going to get to have a life.
Right.
And because that's what my religion was based on, was the end times. Yeah.
And it's because in the same way as mine, because it was like, you know, growing up in the church, it was like, you know, you're always, you know, at least when I was younger, it was like baptism. You didn't have a choice. You were getting baptized. That's what it was. You was just getting baptized.
I was baptized 3 times.
Yeah. So it's like, just because y'all
kind of like finishing school didn't take.
Just like, it's like, just because y'all clapping for me as I'm going up finna get dunked in the water, don't mean I want it to happen.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? So, but at the same time, you know, back then there are so many things you don't understand, you know, and you question, but it was like literally you weren't allowed to question it. So it's like, so do you think this is something I'm gonna follow when I get older, that I'm not even allowed to ask the question?
Right.
Like that doesn't make sense. You know, I'd rather you tell me I don't know, and you find that out versus we're not even to question it is like damnation.
And that was my thing, because I would sit there and I'd be like, I remember being a kid sitting there going, no, that
doesn't make no sense. We had so many questions.
That's not okay. And just the judgment of other religions and other offshoots. And like we had the tracks, you know, the little comic book strips of what's going to happen to you if you stray, or
you had those too.
I still have some of my grandmother's old ones from the 40s. We had to go to revivals in the middle of summer. We had to do all of that, the speaking in tongues, all of that stuff. But which is fine.
We had camp.
Oh yeah, they sent to you. But I love Bible. I like what was it called? The summer vacation Bible school. I love vacation Bible school because you know why? It was fun and it was on my level. And it was stuff that I could understand. I loved the stories. I love the parables. I love all that because I love religion. I have a great appreciation for it. But yeah, it was hard. And then it's even harder finding your own way, because then when you become an adult and you're allowed to question and you find those answers for what's true to you in your heart.
Yeah.
Woo, that hurts.
Yeah,
like
that hurts.
It's like, wait a minute.
When you go back And for those being raised in the church, and then lots of times and there's been a few times where each of us has come across people who are like strict in the church, strict in the church. And hell, even our son has friends that are strictly, strict in the church, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing.
We understand it because you were raised in it.
And even for his friends that, believe in that, hey, that's fine. That's fine. But, we were raised in it too. We and as we got older, we're like, wait a minute, doesn't add up. And then you're still not able to question it. But since that time, I will say this, my mom has done a few things differently too. Like, wait a minute, something's not added up to her with her either. And she's like, wait a minute, she started right. She found her truth and her church and what she thinks is.
And I love her pastor.
Yeah.
I've talked to him on the phone a couple of times, and we were there at her church on Mother's Day. We didn't get to stay, but I really love the energy. It was different. But I also will say, I had been to church a couple of times as an adult, trying to find my own way with it. And it was really weird because Catholicism was more comforting to me as an adult. But then I was working at a Methodist church, and I absolutely adore my Methodist church. I love them and miss them. But it comes down to the pastor.
Yes, it does.
And it comes down to the truth. And it comes down to, and I'm not even speaking the truth about what they believe, because it's an interpretation of the Bible is what a pastor is. They are a teacher. They are to teach and to explain it. And Marcia had a really great way of discerning and not blaming and not judging, and truth was there.
And
we're not perfect. We're people.
Right. We've followed different religions.
Oh yeah.
And we have so many things that just fascinate us about it. There was a point in time we seriously had a conversation about changing our major to theology.
Yeah.
So it was.
And I brought it up again the other day because I studied theology at Liberty.
And
I love it.
Right. And so there's things that, when we talk about growing up in the church, that I have to tell it to those adults listening right now. You raising your kids in the church, there's nothing wrong with it. But understand this, kids aren't as dumb as you think.
No, they're seeing everything. They
see everything that you do.
So if this person is talking about this person, yet they're being called out and told that they're shameful because they just judged another kid, but they just heard Miss Mary talk about Miss Jen.
Yep. Or
and
about
what she's doing or who she's doing.
Yeah, about how Mr. Johnson has been messing with the Mr. Johnson.
Yeah.
Wife. I'm just saying.
Or just the things that are going on. My God isn't in four walls. My God is greater than four walls.
Right.
And I worship my God every day.
And
so that's my thing I took away from being raised in a church, because it was, I want to do other things.
Right. But I do have to say this though. On one end, it's like, being raised in the church, we're like, man, we had so many things that weren't answered. We don't allow this. This was crazy. And because of that, we decided to do our thing. But just think, if we wasn't raised in the church, we'd have, where would we be?
Well, and that's what I'm saying. I love the foundation it provided me.
It provided a foundation.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's a foundation for you to question though. So,
but it also, so let's go through this. Preachers' kids are always the worst kids. Fact. Didn't matter what church we were at. You could tell which was the preacher's kid.
Preacher's kids always was up to something.
Some of the most judgmental people you will ever meet
are at church.
And run it.
Yeah. Some of the most judgmental. I'm gonna tell you right now, there were growing up in my church, me and my friends, we knew so many things about every adult.
You knew everybody's secrets.
We knew everybody's secrets. We knew everybody's secrets because we knew all the other kids, and we all talked.
Yeah.
So, we all talked, and we're like, man, this is crazy. Did you know this? Did you know this? And then that stuff that stayed amongst us as teenagers. And I meet with my friends now. I see my friends now, and a lot of them don't believe at all.
And that's sad. That
a lot of them
my
don't
heart.
believe. But a lot of it also,
it hurts my
the
heart.
reason they don't is because a lot of the stuff
that
that
you
we
guys,
saw
yeah,
while we were in.
and you saw
the
some
church.
pretty bad stuff.
Yeah.
Like you said some stuff to me that I was
Yeah.
like, oh wow. I mean, I got pushed out of a tree by the preacher's son, but
Nah, I'm gonna tell you right now, I ain't finna bring all that out. I'll just say that
I was like,
there was a lot of things that we all, said in that church was like, you gotta be shitting.
But
it's a church.
I will say this, but when we were having the church, we lived in a small community in Oklahoma. As much as I hated going to revival all over like the little county, and because it was so hot, I loved the spirit. Everybody was there in that moment to try to get answers and ask for healing. And they did try to come together, even though, the faith wasn't always there, or, they wouldn't always follow the code of ethics, let's say. But, it is something, and I miss that community. I miss what it should have been. I miss what church is supposed to be. And I hate how people use it for money. And I hate how people use it for, to shame others and to judge others and to use it for their benefit.
Right. So, and
that.
there's times where people have invited us out to churches. They're like, hey, go, and like, you guys need to understand, me and this woman here, you knock on our door, talking about, do you know the truth? Come on, let's talk about it. Because I can guarantee you do.
I promise you, I can pull up. I can grab the Bibles I have, because this man knows I have a library of Bibles.
Yeah, it's like, come on in,
and
bro.
I use every one of them, and we have scriptures on our phone, and we get into it, and
we dissect each one.
I don't just take the scripture of the day.
No.
You got to look above and you got to look below.
Right. So that with that, going, there's nothing wrong with testifying and coming up to people saying, hey, inviting them to your church. But a lot of times people ain't ready for that answer, for the response, because I knew, when growing up in our church, there were times that we did, want to teach people when we were young. They used to make us, hey, we want you to be deacons. We want you to do this.
Yeah, see, my church.
Right. And I'm like, look, man, no. No.
Were you asleep? Wait, you gotta tell the story about you being asleep.
Yeah, like, you gotta understand. Me and my homie little David, you know who it is. David, if you're watching, you remember. Our parents made us be deacons and elders. It was like, we had to sit in the front pew in front of the church while the preacher was preaching. Now you need to understand something. To a 15 and 16-year-old, that is the most boring thing ever. You were sitting there and the preacher is talking and you in the front row like, please stay awake, please stay awake. And the next thing you know, I've always been a snorer. I've always been one that snores.
Oh,
and I'm gonna tell you, most of the time I would wake up and the preacher would be looking at me like, as he's preaching, I said, oh, this is not gonna go well.
Daryl Van Horn and Witches of Eastwick.
Yeah,
you're just
I'm telling you, I would literally
snoring.
be sitting there, and sometimes I used to wake up to because everybody know the church I went to, everybody knows when the sermon is about to be over, because you start hearing the organs. And I'm like, and when you hear that, I'm like, oh snap, did I sleep through the whole sermon?
Oh no.
Oh snap. And so, but there are certain preachers, everybody know there were certain preachers that you knew, we had it down to a science. We're like, okay, if this dude is preaching, we're gonna be out of here in like an hour. You know what I'm saying? If there's a new preacher, that preacher is always finna make a name for himself. And he got to preach a sermon that's like 2.5 hours. You're like, bro, I get it. I get it. And so, but they used to want us to be deacons. Me and David, Mikael, my younger brother Tavares, they used to want us to do all that stuff. And he was like, bro, and like as we got older, even now we talk on the phone. You hear us on the phone.
Yeah.
Growing up in the church, but we still do believe in God.
Well, and I mean, that's why I say I'm so appreciative of the foundation. And then for me, like, it was a treat to go to my great aunt's church.
All right, go ahead.
So anybody that just heard that, I hope you're not like vying for a treat right now, because if you are, then that's, some Pavlov dog stuff.
You also didn't hear the rolling of thunder of the dogs running down the stairs.
What I was going to say was, it was always a treat for me. And my great aunt was Southern Baptist, which you have to say Southern Baptist because there's Baptist and there's Southern Baptist.
I didn't know that.
Yes. So it was, if you go to Southern Baptist, you are going to dress up. There is a dress. You're going to wear it. and you are going, it's just a different set of rules. And she would do everything she could to make me laugh.
Okay.
And then get me in trouble. She was kind of sick that way, but that's where my humor comes from, I think. And that's why my mom has the humor she does. She's kind of sick and twisted like I am. But it's one of those, like, she would draw things, and because she was trying to keep me interested. But there was also this, I was getting a different teaching. And we went to Christian school for a minute until my mother went in there and lit their asses up. Because, they weren't very kind. Because they're judgmental.
Yeah,
and it's hard not to fall into that, because as a teenager and then as a young adult, I did. You're a Christian, I don't want anything to do with you. Because here's the thing, I'm a Christian, but not yet. I'm not there yet, because to be a Christian means to be Christ-like. I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
I have his temper, because I know he had a temper.
Yeah. And I
have the love for people, but I don't have it all together yet.
And no, I do know, because I can relate to that too. I can remember, getting on some jeans. You were allowed to wear anything but jeans at church. Either you're a guy or a girl.
Boy, how the times have changed.
Yeah, it used to be. But here's the thing. This is where a lot of the questions come from too, right? Wait a minute. If God said, "Come as you are," why do I gotta put on? That doesn't make sense.
Why do I gotta have church clothes?
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, man, I'm not. Why do I need to go to church looking like?
Oh my God! And then the minute you walked in, you'd have to take it off. It's like, get off your church clothes.
Yeah. As soon as you walk in the house, it's like, get out your church clothes.
Take out your play clothes.
You need to understand. I'm like, okay, so at young, you're not thinking, but as you get older, it's like, okay, do you know what that set in our heads?
It did.
It's like, this is not a real thing. That's what make people like, no. Why do I need to? So if you mean to tell me that when I am being judged, God gonna be like, remember that time you ain't put on them dress clothes? When you walked into my house and you had on jeans? I don't appreciate that. Bro.
I think it used to be a respect thing, and now when you look around, come on now. Now that we're older and we look at like getting on a plane, when I was a kid, getting on a plane was still an event.
Yeah.
And it was still a fashion show, and it was still a sign of respect. It's a sign of respect for yourself and for whatever, And so it was always a fashion show. And I loved that. I loved getting dressed up like that. Of course, on days that it was hot, I didn't. I always got mad at my dad because sometimes he didn't have to go. And I didn't understand, like, if mother made us go, how come he didn't have to? Of course, he was staying at home cooking for the winter or whatever, because he would cook on Sundays and then put it in the freezer so we would have food, because he was a contractor through the winter.
Yeah.
But it always made me mad because I loved it when my father went to church, because again, he's the one that, he would sit there singing, and I'm like, how do you know the words to this when you're never here? And he's like, I don't, I'm mumbling, don't tell your mother. But at the same time, my father was so charismatic, and so was my mother. They were both Sunday school teachers.
Yeah.
And they were amazing at that. And they could have really ruled the world because they were so good. My father was deeply theological and wanted the study of it. My mother had a very practical sense for the Bible, what I mean? It was just practical in how we could attribute it to our everyday life.
Right. And
where my father wanted to get into the bones of it.
Yes. And in my situation, it was my stepdad had brought that religion to us, and then my mom, she didn't.
So there was already a resentment in a little bit.
Well, I mean, that's a whole nother story about.
Well, sure, but I'm just saying, religion can be touchy like that.
Right, and it can be. So especially because my father at the time, I'm like, man, you push this religion on us, but you're not even going to church. You at work while we at church. They're like, wait a minute, how can you talk about this in the Sabbath and you're literally you're on your way to work? But those are things that
well, but there's the funny stories about it. It's the we would have like church bazaars sometimes at Halloween, and they would do where we could dress up, and they would have
oh, that was strictly prohibited.
Well, but it was benefiting the community. Like, if it was always in the act of charity.
And okay, so on that aspect, I will say, it was always
for $1 you could throw, and my father was thrown in jail, and my cousin John Booth was thrown in jail. But it was going to the community.
That
kind of stuff.
And I will say this,
bake sales,
100%. And I will say this, one of the things that my church did instill to me is probably the kindness aspect.
Absolutely.
Because, we used to feed the homeless consistently.
Which I love.
Right. We used to feed the homeless. And I think that instilled a lot of me. That's why it hurts so bad, passing somebody up. Like that, if it really foundation in that. It messes with me. Like,
where I grew up in the Bay Area, and I'm like, it's too many. They got a Cadillac.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's too many of y'all. But but no, like, look, growing up in the church. If you guys have grown up in the church, go ahead and throw us some stuff that has happened.
Our pain.
Yeah. But even if you are growing up in the church, if you're that 17-year-old,
but you're probably like me too, and went back to work in the church.
Yeah.
So you could work that out and bring something to the community and be a part of it. And I'm just gonna throw this out there as an adult. Love TD Jakes.
Yeah, TD Jakes. Look, and one other thing I will say about the church aspect, like I'm seeing a lot more, and I think I talked to you about that before. A lot of people develop, a different spirituality. I'm seeing a lot of Ashe.
Oh yeah,
a lot of Ashe, and I'm seeing that now the times that we are, even though we ran from a lot of stuff, religion, we've run towards spirituality. Yeah,
which is what it should have been. So we've
run away from religion and run towards spirituality.
It's not fire and brimstone anymore like it was with when I was a kid with Oral Roberts or I went and saw I can't think of W.B. Grant,
right?
And it was hellfire brimstone.
And it's
but now it's or the Jim Bakers, and then you grow up and you're like, wait a minute, you were having an affair.
Exactly.
Like I watched you as a kid, and then I saw him in Branson. I saw him in a pizzeria. And Devin was like 7, and he's like, "Mommy, why do you keep staring at that man?" That's Jim Baker. That's my childhood. And I wanted to hug him and beat the shit out of him at the same time.
Tell him, baby.
Because it's man, how could you do that? How could you tread on the word of God like that? And so my thing is I love it, but dang it, we had some really good times.
Yep.
But man, growing up in the church really can mess you up.
It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. True story. So guys, look, if you're still listening, or if you just listen while you're cursing us out, you can't be talking about it like that. Here's what it is. We gonna speak our truth. We gonna say how we feel on it. You may not agree, that's fine. But this was our experiences coming up there. Yeah. So we both grew up in the church. That's just our experiences when it comes down to it. But tell us about yours, dmwattspodcast@gmail.com. Y'all know where to find us, dmwattspodcast.com. See, not to be confused with gmail.com. Hey. Our dog literally knows every time
she's like, ending. You're done.
Yeah, this is it.
I hear dmwattspodcast.com and there's no more treats.
If you're not watching us on YouTube, you're missing out. Our dog here is literally just, But
being annoying is
we here at DM Watts, we pride ourselves on being real. This is real.
It's like getting slapped in the back of the head at church because I snickered or sneezed.
So hey, look, thanks for y'all tuning in. Once again, you know where to find us. Check us on the streaming services. We about that Doge at AMC. I'ma hit it again. Sheba. If you ain't got none, you are wrong. You remember they said the same thing. It ain't shit. They said that about Bitcoin. They said that about Doge. They said about so many of them. But check it out. You'd be surprised. Anyway, signing off for DM Watts Podcast. I am Davie.
I am Misti.
We are DM Watts. Still here, still kicking. You guys take it easy.